Wyverns and Weirdos Curse of Strahd is a horror-themed campaign, and as such contains dark themes, including descriptions of gore, violence, and other features intrinsic to the gothic horror genre. Hello, welcome to Wyverns and Weirdos Does Curse of Strahd. I am your Dungeon Master, Darby, and joining me as always are Zoe playing Cevia, Emily playing Beatrice, Laura playing Conrad, Mitch playing Designation 42, Exley, and Johanna playing Fall. Let's jump into it. So, where we last left off, the party fought some mountain folk who appeared quite vicious, and then had various talks amongst various combinations of them, while Cevia also did some identifying. And it is 8 a.m. and the party have only been up for, well, the party have been up already for 8 hours. So, what would people like to do?
Well, I think the plan was, because we're all a little bit beat up, so I think the plan was to wait until a decent time where we think we can get a little bit of shut-eye, and then try and get some. The issue being people's internal clocks are saying that it is time to wake up.
Well, Cevia and Exley have just had a conversation in the hallway about feelings, which went about as well as everyone expected it to. So, Cevia is going to turn to Exley and be like, do you feel tired?
I do not feel that I do. I do feel that I need to rest and recover my strength, but I do not understand tired.
Oh, I guess there's not a very good... Would you want to know? Do you wonder what... I assume you feel things, because you've said you feel things like disappointment and joy. Do you wonder what other feelings feel like?
I did not for a very long time. However, when I change forms, I take on the mentality of the creatures whose form I take, and in a way, they understand feelings. So, when I change back to this form, I do feel less.
Oh. That's honestly a little upsetting to think about, really, in the grand scheme of things. You did seem quite happy when you were that little puppy that one time at Mordenkainen's. Do you wish you could do that more, or does the fact you can feel in those states bring a sort of satisfaction?
There is a strength in not feeling all emotions. However, there is also a weakness. I feel powerful in this form, but I feel content in other forms. And I do not know which one is better.
Oh. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I feel things all the time, and I'm not particularly content about it, so...
Oh.
Yes, well, yes, would you... I feel like we as a group need to relax as much as we... And she kind of scrunches her eyebrows together. As much as we can, considering the circumstances. Well, maybe if the others are amenable to it, they don't all have to come, but would you like to spend some time in the library with me? I can read to you. We can talk about feelings if you want, or I can see if there are any books in there that can actually be read. Or, I don't know.
I would very much like that.
Good. Good. And she kind of gets this like little pep in her step. Good. Yes. I've always liked reading to other people. It's quite delightful. And if you can help them to understand something, it's always quite invigorating, really. My favorite thing about tutoring. We should ask the others, yes, if they want to do that too, or if they want to... Oh, fall is very cold. We might... I'm not sure if we can set a fire in the library. That might be frowned upon. Then again, who is there to stop us? There's not exactly a librarian. Am I the librarian? I'm the closest thing there is to a librarian.
Actually, it doesn't have the ability to look off into the middle distance, but if he could...
Yeah. We should...
Yeah, you do know there was a decent amount of space in the library that you could set up a small fire.
Okay, cool. Let's ask the others, and then we can progress from there. Yes, she puts her hands on her hips in a very determined-like way, and then stands still.
Eggsley's going to look at the posturing and attempt to replicate it. And then we'll sort of freeze there for a little moment with his hands on his hips, I guess. And then he'll drop his hands down to the side and continue on to the rest of the group.
Cevia will just watch him do that and be like, oh, and then scurry.
Okay.
Into the room.
So yeah, you rejoin the others, and do you float your idea of going to the library?
I guess if she walks in and no one's having immediate conversations, she's going to be like, I would like to propose an idea to the group.
Oh, yes.
Well, Exley and I were thinking it might be, if we're all planning on having a bit of a rest before a reasonable time to go to sleep, that our bodies might actually appreciate, maybe it would be worth our while to spend some time in the library. Even if we can't read the books in there, it might be nice just to look at something different than these walls. It also might be a bit warmer, and there should be enough space for a fire regardless.
That does sound like a nice suggestion. I could, sure, a good fire sounds good, and I'm sure you would enjoy the books, Cevia.
Yes. That is, and she kind of looks over at Conrad. What's he looking like?
I think he'd had like a little, like, not an argument, but he'd said something. He'd been mildly hostile towards Fall, asking how he was, I think. And I think he was standing up against the wall, and he's still doing that with his arms folded. He did tilt his head as you entered, and then kind of like looked at you, and then looked over Exley, and then just kind of like adjusted his the stance he's been doing. But he shrugs and goes, I think that's a good idea. I have been thinking some on what to do if everyone were to be resting here anyway, but I suppose if we all go as a group, that's probably better. Yes, I think the library's a good place to shift our base of operations.
Wonderful. I was going to say we didn't all have to go if we didn't want to. I'm perfectly used to being in libraries by myself, but if we're all willing to go, it probably is the safer option, and there certainly isn't a giant hole in the wall, so it might be yes. No, good. I'm glad. Yes, thank you. Yes. And she just smiles really awkwardly.
Was it your suggestion to go to the library or 42's?
She looks up at Exley, which is, I suggested it, but Exley certainly wasn't opposed.
Interesting. Okay, well, I suppose if we are all going to go, we'd better get our things.
Yes.
And he just stands up because he has all of his stuff anyway, and strides towards the door.
Yeah, most of his luggage is still at the front, isn't it?
Yeah, he buried it. He's again kind of adjusted his stance again to what Beatrice saw him in the previous room. Perhaps somewhat exaggeratedly, but he just kind of stands jauntily by the doorway. He's like, okay. And just surveys everyone else. Again, still with his arms folded.
Beatrice gets up and walks out to the balcony and gets her rope back out and ties it to the door handle and throws it over. So everybody can get down safely.
Excellent. Good idea.
I would just, sorry, just very quickly, I just went to roll insight on Conrad with a brand new set of dice and I nat one again. I am not allowed to insight on Conrad.
He just looks
allowed.
He looks put off, that's all.
Yeah. Oh god.
Which he looks like
so
most of the time.
Yeah, she's just so excited that he said yes to her idea. Gonna go grab bags.
Also kind of like looking at Cevia and looking like quite pleased. She seems to be happy at the moment, and then like also kind of like darting looks at Conrad and looking concerned.
As we go out the west doors, I'd very much like to be on the left of Cevia and directing her attention towards the stairs and the door in which we came in when we started this adventure. As said, not like distracting, but definitely trying to avert Cevia's attention from the 4 dead bodies that are piled up in the corner behind her.
I forgot about that.
I also forgot about that.
I guess roll a deception check opposed by Cevia's perception rather than insight.
I guess I'm going to roll perception too.
My passive or my normal?
You can make a perception roll.
I got a 24 perception.
Okay, well my passive is a 12. So perception? That's a dirty 20.
That is a 17 from Exley. That is with a -1.
So
I was going to say this was going to help, but was going to help try and disguise what was going on.
Can I add to that,
though?
He, Conrad, who is standing directly next to it, if I'm looking at the map correctly, quirks his eyebrow at Beatrice, misinterprets her, probably looking like, oh no, I better cover that up, and goes, oh, actually, you're going to keep your mess sitting around here, we're going to take that to the library too.
Beatrice just sort of face palms. makes a little chirp noise.
Cevia was paying attention to what Exley was doing, but then with all that going, it's what? Just because these are mountain people bodies, aren't they?
3 mountain people bodies, and the other one is our ex-friend who Cevia technically killed.
And your friends.
Did you need those with you to raise them later on? Would be better to have them with us.
They will not be going anywhere. I can come and get them after a rest.
He's not wrong.
Quite. Yes. Good. Wonderful. Where's the rope?
So Beatrice has already let the rope down, so everybody can go down in whatever order they wish. Beatrice will be last.
We'll jump down. And take no damage.
Oh, that's right. You don't take full damage.
Okay. So everyone but Fall, roll me an athletics check to make the climb down. I will roll the potential damage just in case.
I'm pretty sure I can't take any.
Actually, Beatrice will jump down.
Okay, in that case, roll me a dexterity saving throw. If you're jumping.
Okay.
Yeah,
just Beatrice for the save.
Actually, we'll probably jump as well, because
so
he is
that would be a save as well.
Big boy and doesn't want to break the rope.
25.
Oh, that's
25? Okay, you managed to land easily.
Please take the rope.
15. So you take 5 points of bludgeoning damage.
I'm attempting a superhero landing, hoping to crack some of the tiles on the floor.
You do, but you also crack some of the wooden plating.
Some of yourself.
Damn it.
So
I gotta fix
Conrad
that.
and Cevia, the athletics checks if you are climbing, or dexterity saves if you are jumping.
That's a 10 athletics.
Okay, it takes you a while. You're very reticent, but you can get down with a 10.
It is not.
It is hard, to be honest.
I believe she.
Exley's underneath, ready to catch her.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like last time, Cevia just is not very athletic, so it's quite a poor, slow effort with a lot of scooting. So, yes.
Cool. Conrad did jump down. He also rolled a 26. So he uses the rope to rappel. So to kind of because he has some familiarity with rope work, he kind of tests it, and then looking haughtily down. Most of the people already down there, kind of kicks himself off and then just jumps down. And 26 landing.
All right.
Didn't break his ankles this time.
Yeah.
No. And he will do the same landing that X was attempting to do.
Paul is impressed.
And then he just kind of gets up a bit and dusts himself off. Okay, the library, yes?
Yes, that was quite good, Conrad.
Conrad looks huh? And then kind of blushes, is like, yes, well, anyway, library.
Scuttle.
So you make your way to the library, and I'm guessing fire is probably number 1 priority.
Yes.
Esmeralda,
easily climbs the rope down.
The NPC.
I was about to say, is it Esmeralda with us?
Keep forgetting her.
Sorry, Esmeralda.
I'm so sorry, Esmeralda. You're really cool. You're way too cool for us.
True.
Paul just doesn't trust her, so he's like,
Okay.
out of mind.
So what do you want to do now that you're back in the library?
Beatrice immediately puts all her stuff down and sort of settles in and starts sharpening all of her various weapons and, sort of reshaping and whittling some arrows. Right in front of the stairs. She's right in the middle, she is a barrier to the stairs.
So Conrad had gone up to the railing around the center of the room, and then when he sees Beatrice kind of very pointedly stomp forward and like plonk herself down next to the stairs, he kind of just like leans leisurely onto the railing and then just like glares outwards rather than down in Beatrice's direction.
Okay.
Exley wants to listen out to see if we can hear an amber golem slowly but surely digging through the wall.
Roll me a perception check.
Okay. 12.
Silence. Like, you don't hear anything.
Would Beatrice hear anything?
Roll me a perception check.
That was a nat 20.
It's a boring answer for a nat 20, but silence. You don't
Does she hear anything else?
Cool.
Here's some mice skittering around.
Yeah, like wind, bugs skittering.
Just as long as there's no thud, 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 crash,
Yeah.
we're all good.
Fair.
Yeah. Cevia is going to. I know she did a bit of a look around the shelves last time we were in the library. She's going to do more of a look to see if she can find a book that has non-invisible writing in it.
How long are you going to spend trying to find it?
Oh.
How long are you going to spend on this?
How big's the library again?
It is so each. It is about a 50 feet by 50 feet room. So about 100 meters by 100 meters, if I'm doing my conversions correctly. And there are 6 bookshelves at basically on the most of the edge walls, other than the one that has the staircase. They are very tall, like 20-foot high walls and 30-foot high vaulted ceiling.
Is there any way for her to reach the upper shelves?
There are no ladders around. If you have any magical means you want to try, or
Standing on Exley's shoulders.
certainly try it.
How tall would that make us? That'd be like 8-9 feet or so, yeah.
Yeah, she's like
10 feet, yeah.
she's like 5'2".
Okay, so that'd get us about halfway up.
Yeah.
Exley is going to look at everything that's around and see Cevia sort of looking at the higher shelves.
So the bookcases are 10 foot tall and made of black marble.
Okay, so we could reach the top.
We could.
Okay, because the answer to your question is that Cevia's got time to kill, and this is her favorite terrain. So she will spend as long as it takes to find a book she can read. And if she can't find a book she can read, she will. Because I thought I had a spell that could help, but I don't think I do. So.
So after how? So you're not going to find any books where you can read them. How long would it be before Cevia realizes this and just gives up on that plan of attack of just grabbing any book she can get her hands on and reading it?
45 minutes.
45 minutes. Okay.
Yep. So everyone can feel free to do anything else in the meantime, because Cevia and Exley are going through books. But I guess to jump ahead, and if anyone wants to jump in and fill this time afterwards, once she realizes that there are no books that she's going to be able to read, and that she still does not have Dispel Magic prepared until we go to bed tonight, and therefore has no way of even seeing if she can decode these books, she's going to look at Exley with her arms crossed and be like, well, so I don't think I'm going to be able to read you anything from these books, but there are things in my spellbook I can read you if you want.
Of course. If you choose to read them, I will listen.
Good. Okay, and then she's going to set up in the little seats on the west side of the room. And she is on the way over going to kind of announce to the room in general, but is also kind of talking to Fall mostly, but it's just saying in general, I'm going to be reading a book to Exley out loud. If anyone would like to participate and listen or tell a story, we are going to be doing that. Thank you. And then she's going to go sit in her little chair. And yeah, where I assume she put all her bags and stuff down before.
Okay.
I guess Paul will probably I don't know, sit nearby just to be curious what she's going to say, what the book will be.
Okay. So I'll say if you're listening, Beatrice and Conrad, are you listening at all?
Conrad isn't.
Okay. Beatrice?
I'm one ear. Listening's out for anything else.
Okay. So, Exley and Fall, roll me an intelligence check.
Okay.
Just to see how much of this arcane text you actually understand. And Beatrice,
That was 3 + 0.
Beatrice, do the same thing at disadvantage.
Is it just a straight roll, or do I do?
Just a straight roll.
So that's a 15.
15. Okay, you're kind of able to comprehend it reasonably well.
Exley got a 14 as well.
14. Bits and pieces. Fall, this is all going over your head.
Yeah, Fall's pretty much as soon as they start hearing complex words that they don't understand, or they're just they instantly zone out, and it's just the words are washing over them, and they're just kind of fiddling with something.
I will say, Cevia, it isn't all just arcane stuff. She's kind of starting with this and these are all my evocation spells, and these are all my illusion ones, and this is the difference between this kind of school of magic and this kind of school of magic, and blah 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 blah. And then she has, I think, enough social awareness to realize that and I did also just roll a 16 on charisma just to kind of in general she has enough self-awareness to kind of go oh, they do not understand, and even if they do understand, they don't really care. So she's then just kind of gonna pause and then flip right to the back of her spellbook, where there's huge, it's a very thick book, and there's a lot of blank pages for spells, but right at the back there's just a chunk of pages that are full of writing that all the spells, if you were looking at the book itself, Cevia's handwriting is quite spidery, it's quite cramped and small and very narrow, and she writes very straight, but there's a lot of weird notes and amendments and things all over the page. The writing right at the back is 2 people's handwriting, and one of them is very loopy, almost calligraphy-like, and the other is almost a kind of doctor's scrawl kind of thing, and the pages alternate between those 2.
Beatrice, with your 15, when Cevia is going through the different schools of magic and mentions the school of divination, and runs off probably a couple of the spells that she knows from that school, and mentions identify, you do wonder, you've seen her identify magic items. You do wonder to yourself whether that maybe can stretch to spells affecting otherwise non-magical items or people. What you do with this information is up to you.
I forgot about this idea we had had. So she flips to the back of her book, and she's like, "Well, as riveting as I'm sure you all found that, these are not spells, or even anything to do with. Well, they do have things to do with magic, but not really. These are She kind of gets a very carefully neutral look on her face for a second, and then she says, "These are what my parents wrote about me when my magic first started manifesting as a child. They would write down little instances and stories just so I would remember it when I grew up, because they always knew this was going to be my book. So I have a lot of these. If you would be interested, it's a little more self-indulgent than I normally like to be, but I feel like it might be a little more fascinating."
Sure, if you'd be comfortable sharing.
The alternative is books with no writing in them.
Yes, I do at some point want to... As Zoe, I'm pretty sure I did cast Identify on the magic on the books, didn't I?
Did
and
not.
I worked... I did not? Okay.
You did not.
Okay. At some point, I do want to work out what is happening with these books. I didn't get a proper look at them before, but I figure we have a lot of time before my body feels ready to actually go to sleep again. So, yes, I can read you a few of these. And she kind of looks at these pages and she goes, "Pick an age between, and she kind of does a quick flick through, 2 and 9.
Beatrice very quickly calls out, "Steven!"
7. Okay. Oh, 7's a fascinating one, actually. And she like flicks through a couple of pages, and this one is in the kind of a doctor's scroll handwriting. And when she's reading, she also, before with the School of Magic stuff, it was very like when you have a tutor, and she was very like looking at the book, but mostly looking at you and like you're trying to see if you understood, and just over the head. This, she is very in the book, but not in a like hunched over nervous kind of way. Like this is just concentration, I guess, is the only real way to put it.
As Cevia is flicking through the book, Eggley, for this pretty much whole time, has been in like a half stand, half squat, just sort of beside one of the chairs. And now that the conversation has turned away from "this is how you magic" to might be interesting now, Eggley is going to try and get himself a little bit more comfortable, and he's going to walk over to the chair that Cevia is on, and he's going to turn himself into a little black stray cat that he once saw walking around the village, and just sort of stand next to the chair and like essentially look for ups onto the arm.
Paul has that moment where like any cat lover gets upon seeing a cat where you're just like your face just brightens up.
Cevia's exactly the same. And she's like, "That's actually quite fortuitous, actually. I had a cat that looked just like you as a child."
Beatrice sees this and her feathers sort of stick up a little bit and then go back down, and she sort of like ruffles herself back down.
Oops.
Lottie doesn't like cats.
Cevia like pats the arm of the chair for Exley to come up.
Eggley will jump up onto the arm of the chair and sort of do the whole little like 3 1/4 spins to like pad the chair down, and then we'll lie down on it.
I'm so happy. Also, where is Fall situated in all of this? He like in one of the chairs? Is he sitting on the ground?
He's just sitting on the floor.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Look at him
But
go.
they're paying a lot more attention now at this topic.
Cool. Well, so, and she gives Exley like a little pat very quickly. And she starts reading from the book. Oh God, what? Hold on 1 second. I apologize. I just need to remember what the months are in this world. 19th Lumisar. Cevia turns 7 tomorrow. Quite a fortuitous age for a young one such as her. Magic started manifesting quite interestingly. Today she decided to show us that she could make the cat fly. Would maybe not have been such a big deal if she were not flying with it in an opposite direction. We did think that not having as strong a focus would prevent this kind of behavior. However, it seems that she has found her own way around that situation. Clarabelle was most displeased by the situation, but did enjoy getting to chase birds. Cevia discovered she was quite scared of heights, but does enjoy going quite fast. If she can learn to hone this magic and float only a few feet above the ground, she might enjoy the situation more. Were many twigs in her hair. Had to deal with that. Looking forward to her birthday tomorrow. Hopefully she will enjoy the book. And she kind of looks up at the end of that and looks at Exley and is like, I told you, you picked a good form for this story.
Exley did, as far as cat emotions go, did get a little bit perturbed at the whole, see if you learn how to send a cat flying. It's like,
Oh, don't worry, I don't even know how to levitate things anymore. It's a little above my level. You know how children are. They're far more powerful than they think they are, and as soon as you learn how to do things properly, you get a bit worse at them. Yes, there's another one if you're interested, and she's just gauge what people want to listen to, and she's going to just tell stories from when she was a little kid.
Yeah.
And they're all mostly mishaps. Although there's the occasional excited look, mostly in the calligraphy style scroll will be like kind of milestones in her magic journey, like Cevia used her focus properly for the first time today, or Cevia transcribed her first spell and all that stuff. That is mostly done in the calligraphy handwriting, whereas the scroll doctor kind of handwriting is a lot more of the silly stories, and will often also have little drawn smiley faces in them and stuff like that.
So, Conrad, is there anything in particular you're doing during this time?
Yeah, so first question, are there, so we're in, this temple, does it have any plants growing anywhere, or is it completely kind of derelict of, life apart from rats?
From all the places you've seen, it's been fairly derelict of any plant life.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Alright, so instead he will then just, just be pacing around the library. He will keep trying to look at some of the books, but obviously he can't read any of them.
Yeah.
So eventually he'll kind of pull them out, look at that, put them back in, and eventually he'll just kind of throw one on the ground and kind of fold his arms. And then I suppose he'll probably go and find a he'll start trying to assess where the most secluded vantage point is from the within the library from where the others are. He does look quite perturbed that they're all sitting around having story time. And And yeah.
In all reality, it's probably that that northwestern corner of the library.
The northwestern corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of nestled in behind the bookshelf and by the
Cool.
railing.
Yeah, so he just goes and settles himself down there. He does again, sort of try and give himself a moment to sort of not be all upright and looking as comfortable as he is. He will also take out Strahd's diary, I think.
Yeah.
And he is going to sit there and read more of that. And he does also, before he takes that out, he takes out his playing cards that he played a match against himself for, I think. And he looks, he generally glances over across, through the rails of the balcony towards Beatrice for a moment. But then his, gaze sweeps across to the direction of, he hears, I suppose, Cevia constantly talking across there. I suppose he looks in the direction where he's seen Exley turn into a cat. And he just kind of then looks back at Beatrice and then just shakes his head and then takes out the book instead and spends his time reading Strahd's diary, I guess.
Yeah.
That's all he can do at this point.
It's much similar to what was kind of covered in the kind of 2-page handout. It goes a bit further into detail with essentially the conquering of Barovia, the construction of Castle Ravenloft. And
he's generally quite interested in reading this, and then after a little while he takes out his own diary and starts taking notes, probably within the same period of time that Cevia's doing her story time thing.
Roll me an intelligence.
He'll get restless eventually.
Roll me an intelligence check.
Should be good at that. Hang on. So that is a 19.
Okay, so there's bits and pieces that you pick up in kind of the liners, the edges of the pages and the way that things are written. It's almost like what you would recognize as a form of thieves' cant, but not entirely. You can't quite decipher what it is. But as you read on, you discover something about you discover more and more about Strahd, and it eventually you read something that makes it click what this code littered throughout the book is.
Oh, excellent.
And it's not necessarily something that you can decipher, but its nature is almost painfully obvious to you now. This is, as well as his diary, Strahd's spellbook.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. I imagine probably coinciding with that exact point, I imagine story time's been going on for about an hour or so. He kind of has to take a moment for himself as he again does that strange kind of momentary shudder that he has been doing. He's excellent, good. Yes. And he starts taking more notes.
Now you would be aware that most wizards, after having practiced for a while, would have multiple spell books, often redundancies and overflows and all that kind of thing. So the fact that you have this probably doesn't mean that Strahd is without a spell book. It simply means that at some point in time this was his spell book as well as his diary. You do think that if someone were to spend enough time with it, then they could maybe decipher what some of these spells are, therefore giving you an idea of what Strahd's spell outlook is like.
Yeah.
Like what arcane tools he has at his disposal. Additionally, with enough time and precious inks, anyone capable of transcribing spells into a spellbook would be able to copy them. Unlike a scroll, it can be done multiple times when copied from a spellbook.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, cool. Kind of we'll like preemptively kind of like roughly sort of try and like copy the some of the symbols in there into his own diary, but he's trying with like some little annotations.
If you want to roll me a further intelligence check to try to decipher maybe the first one, like just the first one you come across.
So he nat 20'd that one, so it's a 23.
Okay, so
so I can imagine he just knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is one you're aware of him having cast. But that's the thing that kind of helps you to like manage to work out. Oh, okay. So yes, this means this, which means this. Like it works as kind of a Rosetta Stone for you. The fact.
Yeah.
So you recognize the formula for Fireball.
Fireball.
In Strahd's hand, in his hand, his shorthand, his particular codes that he uses for arcane study.
Excellent.
And this will help you in part to further decode other spells within the book.
Excellent. Cool.
It does take a little bit of time to actually decipher it, even with the natural 20.
Yeah.
So that probably takes up about 3 hours for that one.
Okay, cool. So he's just sitting in the corner for 3 hours.
Yeah. All right.
Easy.
Yeah. Cevia, were you going to look towards the books again? I think you hinted towards.
Yes, so she probably, does story time for a little bit. And then kind of, because Wild Shape only lasts an hour, doesn't it? So
It is 3 now.
3 hours. It is.
Yeah.
It is half your level rounded down as a druid.
Okay. So I get she does story time for like a little while, but there's only so many stories in the book that were kind of worth note in her childhood. So at a certain point she kind of runs out, and she's just she maybe tells a couple anecdotes as well, and then kind of gets to the point where she's like, well, I think that's the end of me. I would be. I mean, if you all don't mind, I'd actually be interested in just looking at some of these for a moment. I haven't really looked at them properly. Would that be all right?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you for telling us those stories. That was interesting. Your parents seem to be very invested in you. It's nice.
Yes, well, yes, like I said before, magical parents, magical child, they wanted to see me be good. Yes. Well, I'm assuming at some point maybe Exley has like done that cat thing where he's just become a little scarf. Or if he's like on Cevia rather than on the chair, I don't know.
Would be entirely up to Cevia, because at the moment, like Exley is very much still Exley, so he doesn't understand what to do as a cat. He just knows he can be a cat.
Okay, well, at some point, Cevia did probably put him on her lap and is just giving him scritches. She's probably reveling in the fact that this is the only cat who's ever let her give it belly scritches, and she's not thinking too hard about the fact it's Exley. But she is going to do that like careful cat cradle and just give him to fall.
Fall looks very happy.
Just, Exley said that you did, didn't you? That he quite enjoys being an animal because he can feel things more. So, you two can continue to feel, and I will go, look at books. Yes. Good. Oh, wonderful. And she gives Exley a little scritch and then very awkwardly gives Fall, like, just a pat on the shoulder, and then it goes off to cast Identify on some...
So yeah, are you picking out any particular book, like looking for any kind of specific? I think you needed to have your detect magic up to read the titles, didn't you?
Yes, I need detect magic to read the titles, but because I have that feat, that means I can find information I'm looking for. If I'm looking for a book from the last time I was here, would I be able to remember part of what the cover looked like? At least, and find the general area? Because mostly, she's not looking for a specific one. She's just trying to re-find where all the ones she remembered as being academic papers were.
Yeah. Okay, roll me an intelligence check.
I can do that 100% for you. I'm glad I have a really good intelligence, but that's still an 8.
There's one you kind of vaguely remember the position of, that was something along the lines of the treatise on Zadel, and the properties of early transmutation.
I remember that one.
And you go for it, and you think you've got the right one.
Okay. Well, then I am going to camp out on one of the chairs on the eastern side of the room. I'm assuming Esmeralda's just enjoying the quiet and her knives. And she's going to cast Identify.
All right. So
do all our little do's.
So after 11 minutes, you learn the following properties of the book. So this one isn't new. You probably worked this out by trial and error from last time. Any book that leaves, like, the books are magically preserved by being in the library. Any book that leaves the library will come out of the effect of this spell and likely disintegrate. So the effect of the lack of text on the books, there are 2 ways to get around that. So one of them is through the use of a true seeing spell. The other, far simpler option is to simply use the spell's command word, the spell book, or the book's command word. You don't know whether all the books will have the same command word or whether each one will have its own. But this one has, let me find it. 27. This one has the... Yeah, so this one, at least, the command word is Exathanta.
Exathanta.
Yes.
Fan as in TH or Fanta as in soft drink?
So it is EXETHANTER.
EXETHAN. What was those last 2 letters?
TER.
Exathanta.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, she finishes all her little hands and runes and magic, and then kind of opens the book. Says, Exathanta. And I'm assuming all the writing just appears?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
For the cinematic flavor of it, her hair kind of billows a little bit. Her two little puff buns kind of just billow a little bit.
all right. So, as you start kind of skimming through this book, you make note of it. It's written by a mage, self-identified mage of Zeidel, Zeidel, named Halas, Halas.
Do I know that name?
Roll me a history check.
Ooh, that's good. 25.
25. So, that is just enough to get like a hint of a bit of knowledge. So, it's not someone you've studied. Not someone who crops up in history books all that often in Fierlor, because he is not of Fierlor. You're not sure from your memory where this mage is from, but they, you know two things: that they are very ancient, and they are from a completely different plane of existence. Like they are from a different world that is its own material plane.
Oh. Just because I, as Zoe, recognize that name, and I don't know from where. And I am.
It might be about to click as you continue reading through. So this mage outlines his studies in the city of Zemnias. In a
It's critical
world known as Exandria. And there's a few points of focus that he appears to have. One of them is extra-dimensional spaces, where he is referring to experiments with folding space into a spherical form. The other is a lot of stuff about transmutation and replicating and altering a physical form to escape death in ways separate to the traditional lichdom that most arcane mages would maybe stray towards in the quest for immortality. What Halas appears to be seeking is some sort of actual living immortality where he can create and alter his form into this perfected form and just replicate that on and on and on. There seem to be references to experiments and the beginnings of formulations of shifting the forms of still living creatures as well. But beyond that, it doesn't seem that he's progressed at the time of writing too far on that front.
Yep. Oh my. Well, interesting. And then she's going to go, because she's over on the eastern side, she's going to noom across to the bookshelf near Conrad. Not even really kind of paying attention, but she's just going to look around for a bit and then just grab any random book Then just sit straight on the ground and identify that one as well. Well, first she's going to say, Exathanta.
And the text appears.
Oh, good thing I didn't waste 11 minutes.
Okay, so this
And
one...
she does a little happy dance.
This one, let me find it. So this is the what one would be this is text titled Epitome of the Wicked, and looking through it, it contains all manner of necromantic and evocation-based text.
Ooh.
Would Conrad observe and connect what that her saying the command word meant that she can read it now, or?
I think you're probably getting to just to the point where you finished working out that fireball spell now, so probably yes. Actually,
Okay,
roll
cool.
me a perception check, just to be certain.
Oh no. Oh, maybe not. Let's have a
Because
look.
you are you're not too far from her, because judging by the token,
I will say,
Well-
would Conrad get advantage because Cevia's being loud, or is that just lowering the DC?
just lowering the DC.
Okay, cool.
12.
12. Considering you're basically on opposite sides of the same bookshelf, 12 is enough.
Okay, interesting.
And
He
while
takes a note.
And while she hasn't explicitly said that Exathanta is the command word, you're able to pick up through like context clues of like she starts to like pick up books, say Exathanta, read through them a bit, and
He observes her for a couple of moments and then realizes she's not really paying attention to the fact that he's even there because he's gotten a pretty good vantage point. Then he will just reach around and grab the nearest book and then kind of look around a little bit and go, Exathanta, and then check to see if anything happens.
okay. So the
David looks through his own book.
the text starts to form.
He looks delighted.
I'm wondering.
Simple. And then he takes a note into his diary with the command word.
Yeah. So this is a this book is a more of a historical tome, though no less gruesomely titled "Defiler of the Dead," which, upon skimming, seems to be a history on a couple of different necromancers.
Interesting.
Not particularly an instruction manual by any means, but is the histories of a few notable necromancers.
Okay, he earmarks a couple of pages and then he, similarly to Cevia, is going to start grabbing books and looking through them. Each time checking to see if she's paying attention. If she's not, then he's going to grab a book and do the same.
Well, I was just about to say, how close does Comrade get to Cevia, and do I have to roll for her to get her nose out of her little books?
They reach for the same book.
Roll me a
Her hands touch. He draws a knife.
Pretty much.
Ooh, that was decent. 17.
17. Yeah, you do notice that Conrad is starting to have a look through various books and saying the command word.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yes.
What ones have you grabbed? Might have been quite interesting.
Mostly history books. There is no category for these sorts of books, it seems.
No, they are quite scattered. I feel like Barovia does not follow the same organizational system in their libraries as Fierlor did. So there probably isn't like as much. I'm sure given enough time I could work it out, although we're not really meant to be staying here for very long. I'm talking too much. I'm sorry.
Yes, it is interesting. Some strange enchantment upon the books, it seems.
Yes, they're also the reason those ones disintegrated before is that all these books have been charmed to. They're preserved in here, almost like a museum to knowledge. But as soon as you take them out of the library, the magic is gone. It ends at the doorways.
Someone certainly did not want any knowledge to leave this room.
No, from what I can tell, this used to be a wizard's tower and a temple.
I suppose if it was a private library, that's understandable.
Yes, although even in places of study, wizards can be quite fickle, although I know none in Fierlor as fickle as this, but I would pass them.
I suppose it is not... If one has possessions they wish to keep to themselves, it is not uncommon to booby-trap them, but it is a bit of a wasteful way to do so.
Yes, I mean, many wizards do protect their books. Mordenkainen did with his. I honestly am planning to do with mine by the time I graduate. So it makes sense, but to do it to a whole library and the same for all of them instead of individualized, it's interesting, really.
It does make you wonder what sort of knowledge is in this library that they would go into such measures to keep it here.
And she kind of scoots a little closer to Conrad too, not like to be secretive, just because she's excited. And she's like, "Well,
who doesn't scoot away?
The first one I grabbed is much. I know we are on a different plane of existence, and therefore this doesn't actually mean quite a lot. But the first one I grabbed is from a completely different plane of existence, a completely different world, its own material plane."
Oh.
Like us, it's as foreign to Barovia as we are. So this library could be filled with knowledge from multiple planes of existence, which would explain why they want to keep it secret. But I wonder if wizards powerful enough to get all of this together from different worlds, why would they leave willingly?
It does feel more like a cache of stolen knowledge in that case, if it is a collection of books from different places all coveted here that may not leave again. That is strange. I suppose it could not always, as we have learned, this was once a place that could be traversed too easily, not locked away, as with Strahd.
So, another thing that you pick up on while going through these books is that with enough time, you get the impression that there are vast, as well as these theory books, there are vast amount of actual spells contained in this book. In fact, if you were to spend enough time, you would actually be able to find basically any spell contained within the core books within this library. So anything from the Player's Handbook, from Xanathar's Guide, or from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything is contained within this library. Meanwhile, for Beatrice, Exley, was there anything you three wanted to do?
Yeah, I guess shooting back to when a little bit after Fall's just been patting Exley as a cat. Fall's just kind of be yeah.
It's probably around about that time where Cevia and Conrad are looking at the books that Exley...
Oh, nice. We're going back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fall's going to be looking quite contemplative, and then we'll be I guess to just generally to Beatrice and Exley. Those notes by Cevia's parents, they were interesting. they certainly seem to care about Cevia's development. It's a weird question, but what are families normally like? Beatrice, what were your parents like?
Beatrice sort of just shifts and looks contemplative for a moment. And then they were loving. They gave us what they could. They were a little bit older. I have some older siblings, older sisters. They were pretty much fully grown by the time they had me. So, you know, big family. In a bad place. Made the best of. They tried to make sure that we had enough to eat and that we would be safe.
And I don't know, did you have to work for them? Did they look at your progress?
No. I mean, by the time I got old enough, I learned to hunt, and I was the main hunter for village. But apart from that, no, they were just normal parents, you know. Hey, good for you, kid, you know?
Sure, okay. Sorry, it's a weird question.
I've seen much on my travels of other kinds of parents. Some are not that great. Some are more interested in putting all of their hopes and dreams onto their children and making them live it out.
Yes, I think I've come across a little bit of that before. They're trying to figure out what's exactly normal is in the family sense. Although I guess the bonds of family don't really change the norms of humanity, of people.
What I always tried to do with my own children was make sure they knew they were loved and that I would keep them safe. I could. And at that, she sort of shifts and faces away from Paul and Exley and faces a bookcase.
Oh man, Paul looks like very conflicted about this statement. Just very confused and just thinking deeply and just kind of draws into themselves a little bit. And I guess, I don't know if anyone does anyone roll a perception or insight on Fool? If anyone will be doing that, I'm not sure.
That's all Exley does. He analyzes everyone in this group. So would I roll or would I use a passive? Because that's just what I do.
Probably passive for this.
Okay. So 20 then.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well, you notice that Fall, I guess there's a mixture of longing and conflicted, and they're thinking deeply. And I guess you find it quite strange that they look at Conrad quite a bit. Like they're thinking hard about something. Yes. And then they're just kind of drawn to themselves.
Okay. So, I guess the rest of your downtime passes. You clearly, those who are reading continue to read. The rest of you do as you desire.
There was one really quick thing that I wanted to do. After that whole conversation happens, And then Exley sort of jumped off of Fall's lap and onto the table and is just sort of sitting upright and just sort of listening to the conversation. And then when no one asks Exley about his family, he sort of toddles off. And he is going to go over to just like a bunch of bookshelves, and he's just going to look up at all of them and start to smell the books. Is there... mainly looking at the books on like the higher shelves or in corners or anything like that. Is there a book that smells different or like smells older or you know, anything exciting that way?
Roll me a perception check.
Okay.
What book would smell exciting to a cat, Darby?
He's not a cat
I'm
anymore.
I am a cat. I'm still
you
a cat.
turned back into a cat.
No, I never changed.
This has been more than 3 hours.
No.
Has it?
Because the conversation with Fall and Beatrice was while Cevia and Conrad were doing all that.
We got wild time skippy
which
stuff
was after
going
the
on.
3 hours. Otherwise, Conrad would have been too involved in the...
He just put a bookmark in his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I can turn back into a cat if you want. I had a short rest. I can.
Yeah.
All right. I'll mark off another one of those wild shapes then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am still a cat.
And you're about to have a long rest anyway.
So.
Yep. Oh god, I need to use cat things.
Yeah. It's the cat's perception, I believe. Not
Yeah. Yes, which is a +3, so 21.
21. It's they're all old books.
Okay.
Like,
In that case, I just get up on like maybe the third bookshelf that I go to. I just like climb up to the tallest shelf, and I'll just kind of nestle myself in between some of the books. And maybe after like 5 or 6 minutes, I'll just push one of the books off the shelf, and then I'll go up to the next book, and then maybe like just start to nut, and I'll just try and get it to that balance point where it's not quite off the shelf, but it's almost off the shelf.
okay.
Which
And I'll do that for as long as I can.
yeah, who are you closest to? Would you be closest to?
Oh, well, about the third one, I would have started on the left. Honestly, if Beatrice hasn't moved, probably up to Beatrice.
Beatrice hasn't moved. So the second a book hits the floor, Beatrice will sort of sit upright and look at it, and then look up at Exley
Now-
as a cat.
Here's the thing. These are hefty tomes. Roll me a strength check with the cat's strength
As a cat.
to see if the cat is even able to...
I feel like it should be an advantage because cats are wily.
No.
I have a -4 to strength.
Oh no!
Okay. That is a 6.
No.
Okay.
No.
Can I like try and get my hand in
You can
and
try
like
again.
open one of the tomes?
You can-
I want to do it for as long as I
You
can.
can't... Yeah. So try again.
Oh god, you want me to roll again? I'll just keep doing it. That's lower.
Like, how many times is actually gonna... Because they're fairly tightly in on these bookshelves. You can't open them while they're on the bookcase.
Okay.
How many...
Just kind of scratch at the top, as long as it takes.
Yeah.
This is
So
what he's now doing in
yeah.
cat form.
Eventually you get a couple down.
Awesome. If I can, I want to make like a spot that I can sort of back myself into, and then just sort of watch over my new domain.
Okay. And on that note, as time passes towards a more reasonable time to take a long rest, as you reach around what would it be, 4 p.m. Which would take you as being up for 16 hours. That's where we're going to leave it for this week.
All right.
Thank you,
thanks for
everyone.
listening.
Thank you all very much.
Have a great week.
See you next time.